When I walked into the office that Monday morning, something in the air felt different. The same corridors I had walked for 18 years suddenly felt colder, emptier. People avoided my eyes, and whispers seemed to follow me. I smiled politely, pretending not to notice, but deep down, I already knew what was about to happen. After nearly 2 decades of loyalty, I was about to be dismissed. But what my boss didn't know was that I had been preparing for this moment for months. For 18 years, I had given everything to that company. Late nights, missed birthdays, cancelled vacations. Every sacrifice seemed worth it because I believed we were building something meaningful. I started as a junior assistant, working my way up through persistence and grit. My colleagues used to call me the backbone of the company. But somewhere along the line, things changed. The new management didn't value experience anymore. They valued cost-cutting and control. And in their books, I had become too expensive. My boss, Jonathan, was a sharp man, ambitious, but without compassion. He joined 5 years ago and slowly replaced the old loyal team with his own circle. I had seen the pattern. The coffee meetings that used to include me stopped happening. The reports I once presented in meetings were now handed to someone half my age. I realized my name was being erased quietly, piece by piece. So, I started planning quietly. 2. I began saving every document I worked on, every email showing how I had kept the company afloat during its worst financial years. I had the records of every proposal I had written that turned losses into profits. Every project where I went beyond my job role to help others. And most importantly, I had built something of my own, on the side, a small consulting business that used my years of experience to help small companies grow. It wasn't big yet, but it was real. The day came sooner than expected. Jonathan called me into his office, his expression carefully composed. "Sarah," he said, his tone falsely sympathetic. "You've been an incredible asset to this company, but times are changing. We're restructuring, and unfortunately, your position is being made redundant." I looked at him calmly. "Redundant?" I repeated softly. "After 18 years," he nodded, rehearsed and robotic. "It's not personal, just business." I almost laughed. Business? My entire life had revolved around their business. But I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I just smiled faintly and said, "I understand." Jonathan looked a little surprised. He expected tears, maybe anger. But I gave him none of that. Instead, I stood up, thanked him for the opportunity, and walked out with my head held high. The next day, I sent an email to my team, a graceful farewell note, thanking them for the years we had shared, and wishing them success. What they didn't know was that attached to that email was a personal announcement. My new company was officially launching. Within a week, I started getting calls. First from old colleagues who admired my courage, then from clients, some of them from my old company, who said they'd rather work with me directly than deal with the cold system Jonathan had built. By the end of the month, my small consulting firm had 5 contracts. In 3 months, I had doubled my old salary. And 6 months later, Jonathan's company started losing clients, quietly but steadily. One afternoon, I got a call. It was him, "Sarah," he said after a pause. "We might need your help with a few things. Would you be open to consulting with us?" I smiled at the irony. The same man who dismissed me so easily now needed my expertise to keep his company afloat. "Of course," I said sweetly. "Send me the proposal. My assistant will schedule a meeting." That meeting, a week later, was unforgettable. I walked into the same boardroom where I had been dismissed, but this time, I was the one being paid per hour. Jonathan avoided my eyes as I presented my plan. Calm, confident, and in control. The same corridors that once whispered about my downfall now echoed my success. But the story isn't about revenge. It's about realization. I had tied my worth to a job, to a company name, to a paycheck that made me feel secure. But real security doesn't come from someone else's approval. It comes from believing in your own ability to rebuild, to start again, even after losing everything. The day I was dismissed was the day I was set free. Today, my firm employs 12 people, some of whom were once my colleagues in that same company. We work with passion, integrity, and empathy, the values that Place forgot. When people ask me how I did it, I just smile and say, sometimes being pushed out is the best way to move forward, because the truth is, when they dismissed me, they thought they were ending my story. But really, they gave me the chance to write a better one. And that's the beauty of life. You can't control who walks out on you, but you can always choose what to build after they're gone. When my boss dismissed me after 18 years, I thought I'd lost everything, but I had no idea that moment would be the beginning of my greatest success. And they had no idea what was coming.